Hey everyone, my name is Drew and welcome to Novelytic. So I was fortunate enough to receive an e-arc of Soul Lanterns by Kuzki. This is a poignant historical fiction novel. It was fantastic. I first want to thank both NetGalley and the publisher for gave me the opportunity to read this book and review it. As we enter the novel, we come in on a scene where Nozomi, our main character, a 12-year-old girl, is taking part of the annual paper lantern ceremony in which families in Japan honor those people who passed or became sick from the bombing of Hiroshima back in World War II. Within this narrative, we see Nozomi and a few of her friends propose as a part of an art project to have an exhibit of Hiroshima now and then. This particular ceremony and an event that happened at the ceremony raised a lot of questions for these kids, and they were very curious. We follow the kids throughout the novel, and they sort of act as a springboard into these mini vignettes that show these different narratives of adults and people who either lost people in the bombing or have become sick because of the bombing, and each story is so different, and particularly it is so heart-wrenching. In American history, it's often glossed over, at least like in our social studies and humanities class. I think we get, maybe there's a little section saying that, you know, the 2 atom bombs were dropped. But actually seeing the stories of these people brings a whole other level to it. We don't necessarily always think of the aftermath. And I think this book did a fantastic job of that. So overall, I gave this book 4 stars. It was a beautiful read, and I would recommend it to anyone of any age, even though it is classified as a middle grade historical fiction. It's just so beautifully written. In terms of the characters, we kind of see not necessarily a change in the characters. We definitely see a change in perspective of the younger kids, as they are, this was, the way how the book was written is that this was taking place 25 years after 1945, after the bombing of Hiroshima. And it's interesting because we don't necessarily see the characters develop, but we see these small snippets of different characters' lives and the people that they interact with, as well as their reactions and reflections after the fact. And I just think it was written well. I loved listening to the different characters. They were so different. Their stories were so intriguing. And using the vehicle of the children to show these stories was genius. Overall, the writing and the plot and the atmosphere was done very well. There were heart-wrenching moments. There were times I had to put the book down, and I'm not someone who generally gets physically upset when I read books or watch movies, so when they started to elicit a reaction, I was kind of like, okay, I need to put the book down. But it was done so well. It was short and sweet and to the point, but it still portrayed all those different emotions and conflicts within these different characters, which was so good. And then even just overall, I was so intrigued. Like right at the beginning, Nozomi meets this woman who starts like asking her like, "What's your age?" And all this stuff, and you know, it comes for full circle at the end. But it's just, I wanted to know what happened next. I wanted to know each person's story. I wanted to know how this event affected them, because obviously there's not just one experience. And just overall enjoyment. I loved reading it. I do want to read it again at some point, maybe not necessarily soon, but I thought it was so good, and it's a book that I want to share with people. I want to share it with my students. I think it gives a perspective, again, that in United States education we don't necessarily get. So once again, thank you to the publishers and NetGalley for giving me this e-arc in exchange for an honest review. Again, I would recommend Soul Lanterns to literally anyone of any age, but to put it in the hands of a middle schooler or someone who can read middle grade, it's beautiful, poignant story, a must read. All right, I'll see you again soon next time. Bye.